On the 9th of June 2008, friends let themselves into a house in Mesa, Arizona, worried because nobody had heard from the man who lived there in days. They found Travis Alexander dead in his upstairs shower. He was 30 years old, and he had been dead for 5 days. The case that followed produced one of the most watched trials in American history. An 18-day performance from the witness stand, 2 hung juries, and a conviction that was ultimately upheld by an appeals court that described the prosecution's conduct as saturating the trial with misconduct. But the case itself was solved by a camera someone had put through a washing machine. Travis Alexander was a salesman and motivational speaker, a convert to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, well-liked and widely networked. Jodi Arias was 27 from Eureka in Northern California. They met at a business convention in September of 2006, and what followed was 2 years of a relationship that both of them, at different points, described as something they were trying to end. It was on and off, geographically awkward, and by the spring of 2008, it had turned corrosive. 9 days before his death, Alexander sent Arias a series of messages calling her evil, worthless, and a sociopath. The relationship, by any reading of the record, was finished. What the prosecution built its premeditation case on was not the killing. It was the week before it. 2 days after those messages, Arias' grandparents reported a burglary at their California home. Nothing of obvious value was taken. The only item reported stolen was a small .25 caliber handgun. On the 3rd of June, Arias borrowed 2 petrol containers from a former boyfriend, bought a third before leaving California, and rented a car, despite owning one. She made a series of fuel purchases along the route, and before crossing into Arizona, she switched off her mobile phone. Each of those acts has an innocent explanation. The appeals court, reviewing them together, did not find one. The investigative breakthrough is the reason this case exists at all. Searching the house, detectives opened the washing machine and found bloodied bedding and clothing, and a digital camera. The camera's memory card had been through a full wash cycle. The data survived, and forensic examiners recovered images that had been deleted from it. What came back was a timeline no witness could have provided. First, photographs of Arias and Alexander together in the early afternoon of the 4th of June. Then, photographs of Alexander alive in the shower, the last of them at around 5:30. And then, immediately after, a short sequence of frames that appear to have been taken by accident. The camera at floor level, showing a person bleeding on the bathroom floor. Around those images sat the corroboration: a .25 caliber shell casing at the scene, a strand of Arias' hair, and a bloody palm impression in the hallway containing the DNA of both of them. Arias gave police 3 accounts. In the first, she had never been in Arizona and had last seen Alexander in April. In the second, she had been there, but 2 masked intruders had killed him and inexplicably let her leave. In the third, adopted roughly 2 years after her arrest and the one she took to trial, she alone had inflicted every injury in self-defense after Alexander attacked her when she dropped his camera. The medical examiner, Dr. Kevin Horn, testified to 27 stab wounds, a throat wound that severed the major vessels of the neck, and a single gunshot to the forehead, which he believed had been inflicted after death. That sequencing mattered enormously because Arias' account required the shot to have come first. Jury selection began in December of 2012 before Judge Sherry Stevens of the Maricopa County Superior Court. Juan Martinez prosecuted, Kirk Nurmi and Jennifer Wilmot defended. Arias took the stand and stayed there for 18 days, an extraordinary length of time for a defendant in a capital case, and a decision that handed the prosecution weeks of cross-examination on every inconsistency in her 3 accounts. The trial was carried live, in full, and became appointment television. On the 8th of May, 2013, the jury convicted her of first-degree murder. All 12 found the killing premeditated. In an interview given the same day, before the penalty phase had even begun, she told a local anchor that she would rather die sooner than later, and that death was the ultimate freedom. She did not get it. On the 23rd of May, 2013, the first penalty jury deadlocked, and a mistrial was declared as to sentence. A second penalty phase was convened in October of 2014, and on the 5th of March 2015, that jury deadlocked too, 11-1 in favor of death after some 26 hours of deliberation. Under Arizona law, that deadlock removed the death penalty from the table entirely and handed the decision to the judge. On the 13th of April 2015, Judge Stevens imposed natural life, imprisonment without the possibility of release. Arias told the court she was sorry for the enormous pain she had caused, and that she was disgusted and repulsed with herself. And the single juror who had refused to vote for death, the reason Jodi Arias is alive, had her name, address, and telephone number published online and received threats. There is a coda to this trial that says something uncomfortable about the machinery that produced it. Both lead attorneys were later disbarred for opposite reasons. Juan Martinez, the prosecutor, consented to disbarment effective July of 2020 over allegations that included leaking sealed information to a blogger with whom he was having a relationship during the sentencing phase and retaliating against female colleagues. Kirk Nurmi, her own defense attorney, consented to disbarment in 2016 for publishing a tell-all book about his client and breaching attorney-client privilege. And when the Arizona Court of Appeals affirmed her conviction in March of 2020, it did so while writing that prosecutorial misconduct had undeniably permeated the case, that this was not a few isolated missteps but a pattern of intentional misconduct that saturated the trial. It upheld the conviction anyway, on the ground that the evidence of guilt was overwhelming enough that no reasonable juror could have acquitted, and referred Martinez to the state bar. The Arizona Supreme Court declined to review the case in November of 2020. Arias remains at the Perryville Prison Complex in Arizona, where she has worked as a library aide and sells artwork. She is at the state post-conviction relief stage and has said she will pursue federal habeas review if that fails. In January of 2026, in her first substantive public statement in years, she claimed that exculpatory evidence in her case had been lost or destroyed. Legal observers in Phoenix have put her chances of overturning the conviction at somewhere between slim and none. What lingers about this case is not the question of guilt. The camera settled that. It is everything the trial revealed about itself. A court that found the prosecution's conduct indefensible and the verdict unassailable at the same time. Two juries that could not agree on a death sentence, one anonymous holdout who decided a life, and a defendant who told 3 different stories and testified for 18 days about the third. If you want the next case file, subscribe. New files unlock every Tuesday.